Sorry, I have to reach over to press the button for record. Let's make some basic cake pops. First, you're going to need a cake. I put my cake in a 13 by 9 inch pan and I line it with non-stick foil so that it's easy to come out. And I don't have to clean the pan 1,000 times when I have to bake 1,000 cakes. Take your cake out of your pan. We're going to cut it into fours. What are you doing in here? Everybody's home in my house today. So excuse the background. Okay, we cut it in fours. And for the food processor, which is what I use, I'm going to cut it actually into 16ths, but I'm going to show you real quick how you can do it while by hand also. You're going to do it by hand. If you don't have a food processor, you're just going to take a piece like this, break it in half, and just start to rub it together to crumble it. Just like that. That's all you do to hand crumble. I'm just going to throw this in my food processor though, because I like my dough a certain consistency. I like it smooth, and I think that the food processor makes it a lot smoother. By the way, this is going to be 2 parts. I'm going to do the crumbling and the rolling in this video, and then later on I'm going to show you the dipping and the drizzling. So here's my food processor. I'm going to put the cake in here, and then I'm going to put the rest of this cake in here too. This food processor only fits half a cake at a time, so it's easier though. Okay, I got half a cake in there. And then if you wanted to save your cake and you didn't want to do a whole cake, you could just wrap it up in the foil as a first layer for the freezer or the refrigerator or whatever, probably the freezer if it's going to be a long time. Just like that, wrap it up, and then you would stick it in a giant freezer bag so that you have it for later. Okay, we're only going to do half a cake for this. So turn on the top. There's one giant piece that doesn't want to break, so I just go in and break it in half real quick. Okay, so it's done. You want your crumbs to look like, not dust, but you want it to be very fine and crummy, because this is where you start to make a smooth cake ball. You want fine crumbs. Some people let their processor go until their dough is dough. I like to add a binder. I like to add the frosting because I think it makes it smoother, and I also like the taste better. I don't like the taste of cake or cake balls without frosting. So I start with about a teaspoon. So this is half a cake, and I start with a teaspoon, and I just distribute it around inside the food processor. Turn it on. Let it go a little bit. I want it to keep working. So you're probably seen before you can add like a half a container of frosting or 3/4, whatever directions you've read before. I like to do it a little bit at a time, because if you put too much, then it's too late. If you do a little bit at a time, it takes a little bit more time, but then you don't overdo it and then you aren't stuck with a gloppy mess. up to as many teaspoons as you like until you get the consistency you want. So this is my 3rd teaspoon. I use Duncan Hines. I'll usually use whatever's on sale, but my favorite is Duncan Hines, and this is Duncan Hines. So it depends on the brand, I guess, you get too, or the flavor, where you might need a little bit more than usual. So this is my 3rd teaspoon of frosting, and still, that's not a lot. We're doing it a little bit at a time. So this might be the final stop. Usually I like it when it comes together as a ball within the food processor. It's not doing it this time, and that's okay. But I can tell that this is still pretty good to roll. So you want to roll, or you want to mix it until it's this doughy consistency. Look at this. Just like that. It's flat and smooth when you press it together. So we're going to empty that into the bowl, and then we're going to start to roll it. We're done with the frosting. By the way, I do use box cake, and I do use frosting from the store. It's just quicker and easier. It tastes fine. No worries. If you want to use a from scratch cake and frosting, I'm not exactly sure the ratios for that, but that's something you would have to experiment with. Once it's in the bowl, we're going to pat it and form like a nice blob of soft, squishy dough. And you're going to get every crumb that's within the bowl to come together and help you make these cake balls. So, there we go. We got a nice mound of dough, and it's smooth. I want you to see how smooth that is. Very smooth and ready to be rolled. For rolling, I use a cookie sheet, and I line it with wax paper. You can get, I think, like 70 cake balls on here, the way I roll or the way I scoop, because I have a scoop that I use, and I get 7 across and probably 10 this way. So this is a lot for you to be able to put in your refrigerator. I'm just going to put this cake right here. I'm afraid somebody's going to come in and get it. Okay, so I'm going to use my scooper. This is a scooper by OXO. It's an inch and a half wide, and it just makes consistent, the same consistent shape and amount every single time you scoop. So this is why I like this. And I've been through a few scoopers, and this is the best one I've found. I've had it for over a year, so this really works. I got it at Bed Bath & Beyond, but you could Google it. It's OXO Grips, I think. See, so what I did was I scooped it and I scraped it up against the side of the bowl so that it's flat. And then get rid of the sides so that you have the same amount in every scoop. Just like that. Press it hard. Just like that. I'm going to do 3. Then I'll show you how to roll, and then later on I'll show you how to dip and drizzle. I'm going to do some green today for St. Patrick's Day. Alright, so we scooped our cake balls, and what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it, and then get it right in the cup of the palm. Just roll, roll, roll like that. And just keep rolling until it's round and lumpless, and then if you see lumps, you can just smooth them out. So that's pretty round right now. And you're going to tap the sides so that everything's even and round. Just like that. One more time, or actually 2 more times. Squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. Roll. When you're squeezing it, it's just smushing together all the air and whatever else is going on in these little pockets here so that it's ready to be rolled. Just like that. Go like that. This is a good dough day. I have 100 cake pops to make, so this is good. This is good dough. Okay, one more time. One, two, three, roll. And kind of cup your hand at first, and then you can let it flatten out. This is all you do. It's kind of like rolling a meatball, except meatball's a lot looser. Now, okay, there you go. You got 3 balls, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the camera, and I'm going to continue rolling, and later on, you're going to see me dip. But when you are done making or rolling all of your cake balls, this is what I do. I take another sheet of wax paper, place it over the full tray, which this will be very soon. Take another cookie sheet and place it over top of that, and that's how I store it in my refrigerator, so that I could put another few sets on top of this, and it's not going to get damaged or anything like that while they're in the refrigerator. Because if you just cover them, you know, you never know who's going to shove something in there and ruin everything. So you want to cover it like that really good. And I really like the cookie trays because, like I said, there's a lot of room in there. So I'm going to put them in the refrigerator for at least a few hours, and then when I come back, we'll dip them. See you in a little bit.